self-managing landlords, picture this. You buy that tired property that you've had your eye on. 30 days later, it's filled with great tenants on a great lease, over market rent. And the best part is the house has been completely transformed, all within that 30-day time frame. It sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds make-believe. It sounds like BS, but it's not, because this is exactly what we did for one of our clients. We'll call him Steve. Steve lives in California and never had to fly out to Bryan-College Station to make this dream come true. And I'm going to share with you the 3-step system that my team uses to help self-managing landlords. Ultimately, we leverage our experience to help them maximize their ROI. And in this video, I'm going to share exactly how we do it, so you can implement it in whatever market that you invest. I'm also going to share you a little insider tip to Bryan-College Station that ensures that Steve will continue to get over market rents for years to come. At the very end, I'm going to share with you the real world number that we were able to achieve here in Bryan-College Station, so that you know this is not some fake BS promo video. This is actually what investors are achieving here in Aggie Land. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. All right, let's jump into these 3 steps, the insider tip, and ultimately the numbers that paint the picture of exactly what kind of ROI Steve got. The 3 steps are pretty simple. They start off with a plan, they go into execution, and then finally leasing out the property. But keep in mind that these 3 steps occur after the purchase. In this case, we got Steve this property $40,000 under asking price, which in itself is a great deal, but that's not even what we're talking about today. Today, we're going to go into the details of the process of getting it made ready and rented out, and how we saved or made him money along the way. Now, the truth is, we don't do this for free. There is an expense associated with it, and I will share that number with you at the end. But the point is, even with that expense, Steve got a great return on his investment, and after all, that is the goal. So let's go into step number 1. Now, step number 1 is the most important. For anyone who's ever done anything complex in their life, you know you got to go in with a good plan. And for us, a good plan is an itemized list of all of the items that need to be fixed or upgraded in order to maximize the rental potential and ultimately turn this house into a solid rental property. A good place to start, which we did in Steve's case, was look at the inspection report. Now, this is going to tell you everything that's wrong. And the truth is, not everything on an inspection report needs to be fixed. So our first step, as his boots on the ground trusted resource, is to highlight the items that we recommend fixing immediately. The next step is to figure out what upgrades will maximize the ROI. Because a lot of people, especially newbie investors, want to go in and they want to rip all the cabinets out. They want to go full Chip and Joanna on this house and gut it down to the studs, but you shouldn't, because you're not flipping the house, you're renting it out. Our goal is to get a property in tip-top shape functionally and then upgrade it to or just above the level of the comps in that submarket. This will get you the best tenants at the best rates, and that really takes local knowledge, and that's where we really shine. In Steve's case, we focused on the countertop and ultimately taking a 2-level, like part of it was like countertop level and then part of it was bar level, countertop island, and turning it into one flat level, large island. We felt like this would really increase the value of the rent, and the truth is it did. And I'm going to share those numbers with you in a second. Before we do, let's go to step number 2, because the best game plan means nothing if you don't have great execution. Oh, and real quick, guys, if you are eyeing a property here in Bryan-College Station and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to make moves on this thing, shoot me an email, send it to info@schwartzrealtygroup.com, and in the subject line, put the word cash flow. I'll know exactly what you're talking about, and I will personally respond to help get the ball rolling for you. And so step 2 is to execute on the make ready. Now, the execution actually starts with getting estimates. We want to get bids, not just bids, but we want to get itemized bids from contractors, and not just any contractor. We're going to use contractors that we trust, that we've worked with before. You see, I'm not calling people off of Craigslist. I rely on people who I have established relationships with over the last 8 years. Easy for me to say. And those people I then refer out to my client. But even then, we get multiple bids to make sure we have the right price, and we get itemized bids so we don't have any surprises about exactly what we're paying. The point is we want to get great estimates from great contractors and then move into the actual doing of the job, which usually leads to paying for the doing of the job. Now, here's the trick on that. You don't pay upfront. You almost never pay upfront. You can pay for materials upfront, but even then, I recommend that you buy materials at Lowe's or Home Depot and then have the contractor go pick them up. This will avoid some of the upcharging that contractors will do for materials. Your first payment really shouldn't come out till about halfway through the job, and that's only if it's a longer job, and that doesn't get paid out until someone puts eyes on the job to make sure progress is being made. And then that last 50%, well, that's not paid out until the final punch list item is complete, because if you pay out for that, it'll be very hard to motivate the contractor to come back in the house and knock out the touch-up paint because he's already been paid. The point is, again, we did all of this for our client. Steve didn't have to worry about whether or not the job was progressing on timeline because we were sending him updates and reports letting him know what work was being done. But here's the dirty little secret, guys. Despite our itemized list, despite our great contractors and the amazing estimates, and despite our constant updates, we still ran into $1,400 of unforeseen expenses. These are discovery items. These are items that you realize need to be fixed while the work is being done. For Steve, it was some leaky tubs, some plumbing underneath the sink, and a patchwork on the fascia that was pretty rotten. These things needed to be fixed. But Steve, of course, wanted to be sure that what the contractor was telling him was in fact true before he cut the check. So he sent us out there, verify all these items, and in fact, they need to be fixed. So now we have an additional $1,400 worth of repairs that we might have otherwise missed. Yeah, it's more money, but it's money well spent. At the end of this, our contractors fixed up the property, not ours, but people we work with. The contractors we work with fixed up this property to top shape for Steve so that he could get top rent, which brings us to step number 3. And this is where we probably saved Steve the most amount of money. You see, we ran steps 2 and 3 in parallel, meaning that before step 2 was ever complete, we started step 3. We started leasing out the property while the contractors were still painting. We had tenants in there while contractors were still swinging hammers. And you might wonder, how do you attract great tenants to a tired ass looking property? And the truth is, it's the age of AI. We have AI generated after repair photos that show prospective tenants what the house is going to look like, which attracts them to come to the property and check it out. And of course, then we do our salesy thing and explain to them what the end result's going to look like and convince them how great it's going to be for them, their family, or their roommate. Point is, we ran steps 2 and 3 in parallel, which avoided probably at least a month worth of vacancy. And a month worth of vacancy for this house means $2,000. So by making this simple decision, we saved, or I guess made, Steve $2,000. And that more than covered our cost, which again, we're going to get to in a second. But first, I want to talk about something very specific to Bryan and College Station, something that really is going to affect Steve over the long run. You see, what I haven't told you is that we were doing all of this in October and November. We closed on the property in October and we got it leased out in November, which is the off season for rents here in Bryan and College Station. In fact, outside of June and July, you can expect your rent rate to be about 5 to 10% under those market rents in June and July. And that kind of sucks. So what we did is we had this lease not last for 12 months, which would put Steve back in an off-season rental time frame. No, we had it last for 19 months, which put him effectively back in the summer months where he can get the most amount of rent. And of course, if he pre-leases it, he will almost definitely get over market rents with this new game plan. And that is the insider knowledge that really sets Steve up for success. Now, he won't see that this year, but over the next 10, 15, 20 years of owning this property, his returns will be light years ahead of those people who get stuck in an off-season rental. All right, we've talked about our 3-step process. We talked about how we got Steve back on cycle. Let's talk about exactly what it cost for Steve to buy the property, to renovate the property, and what he paid us to make all of this happen. All right, so Steve bought this house. Now, mind you, it was listed for $240,000. Steve bought this house for $200,000. That's right, $40,000 under the asking price. His total make-ready expense, including the quartz countertops, including leveling that island, including paint and all of the repairs, including the $1,400 of over and above expenses that we weren't expecting, his total cost was only $8,405. His rent, we got him $1,800 per month. That's roughly $100 more than what other rental comps were getting in the area. We attribute this to the island that we leveled because, quite frankly, bringing that island to one countertop level, one, it made it look huge and really brought this property from a early 2000s kind of vibe to a brand new house look. And that, I think, is what sealed the deal for these great tenants. So you might wonder, well, what did Steve pay Schwartz Realty Group to make all this happen? Well, there are 2 fees associated with it. One is our process of coming up with a game plan and then managing those contractors. That cost Steve $900 or 1/2 of 1 month's rent. And then the process of advertising it and replying to inquiries, that cost Steve another 1/2 of 1 month's rent or $900. So for $1,800, we filled this property for Steve. And mind you, by doing this the way we did, we saved him about a month's worth of vacancy. So we saved him $1,800. It cost him $1,800. It comes out in the wash. Basically, it cost Steve nothing to have my team provide our level of experience to help him fill this vacancy. Oh, and by the way, we got him back to on-cycle leasing, which is going to provide him all kinds of cash flow for years to come. Now, the question is, do you want to work with a team like us here in Bryan and College Station? And if the answer is yes, hit me up. Again, my email, info@schwartzrealty.com. realtygroup.com, throw cash flow in the subject line, and I'll personally respond to you. If you're not ready to do that, I recommend that you check out this video here to learn more about our local market. And until the next video is dropped, you take it easy.